14% of the Earth's surface, almost none of it lit at night. This is the Arctic. From space, it reads as absence. No city grids, no road networks, just pale ice pressed against ocean. Polar bears cross it on feet padded with hollow fur, nearly soundless. Puffins raise their young on basalt cliffs above water that hasn't decided whether to freeze. 15 places, some empty for thousands of miles in every direction. Some sheltering people who have lived here long enough that the cold stopped being an enemy. It became simply a condition, the way gravity is a condition. A few carrion things the rest of the world sent here for safekeeping. All of them answer to the same sky. One of the most remote permanently inhabited settlements on Earth, Ittoqqortoormiit sits on Greenland's east coast, 500 miles from the nearest town. 350 people. Average temperature, 8 degrees Fahrenheit. The sea stays locked for 9 months of the year. In summer, a small boat finds its way into harbor during the only weeks the water clears. Supplies come off by hand, fuel for the oil stoves, everything the winter will need. Then the sea closes again, and the same surface that stopped the boat becomes the road. Sled dog teams travel the frozen strait in long lines, their tracks visible from above like scratches drawn across glass. A hunter lies flat on the ice, watching a single breathing hole. The seal surfaces for 3 seconds, long enough to breathe, not long enough to leave. One person, one hole, one chance. Seal meat carries families through the dark months. The dogs eat what the hunters eat. From out on the ice, the village reads as a thin streak of color against frozen sea on 3 sides. The houses painted red, yellow, blue, the same Danish tradition as Grimsey. The same reason. Color survives where shape disappears. The freeze date shifts a little each year. The window of open water narrows or widens, and the village adjusts to whatever the season allows. Grimsey sits exactly on the Arctic Circle, at 66 degrees, 33 minutes north latitude. The boundary between the temperate world and the polar one passes through this island, through the village itself, through a harbor that stays open year-round. That harbor stays open because the Gulf Stream holds surface temperatures near 30 degrees Fahrenheit through winter. Cold enough to sting, not cold enough to seal. The Arctic Circle is a line on paper. The ocean does not read paper. About 100 people live here. The houses along the cliff edge are painted red, yellow, deep blue against the gray of basalt and sky. A tradition carried from Denmark, designed so a fisherman coming home in poor visibility reads color before shape. Outside, wooden racks carry cod and haddock, pale fish against dark lava stone. The salt wind pulls moisture from the flesh, the way it has been done for 1,000 years. No refrigeration needed. The wind does the work. In summer, the 100 residents are vastly outnumbered. Millions of puffins, kittiwakes, and Arctic terns arrive to breed on the basalt cliffs. Each puffin weighs just over a pound, digging burrows 3 feet into the plateau. The sky fills with noise from May through August. Then the birds leave. The 100 stay. The invisible line passes through the village, and locals know exactly where it falls. The most polluted city in the Arctic, Norilsk produces 20% of the world's nickel and sits 870 miles from the North Pole at 58 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Above the rooftops, the sky runs orange. Smelter smoke stains the air in a permanent haze. Snow near the stacks turns gray with particulate. The horizon carries a glow that has nothing to do with sunrise. Roughly 175,000 people on 9.7 square miles, half the footprint of Manhattan. The sky shows the cost. At the base of an apartment building, concrete stilts rise from frozen earth, cracks running vertically through the pillars. The gap between building floor and surface narrows. The stilts are sinking. Heated apartments above radiate warmth downward year after year. The permafrost below, which held the foundations rigid for decades, is softening. Structures tilt. Door frames no longer close, flush. Some residents have wedged furniture against leaning walls. The concrete of these buildings was poured by Gulag labor. The city was built as a mining camp. Prisoners extracted nickel from the permafrost and constructed the infrastructure that still houses 175,000 people. That history is in the walls now, along with the cracks. "430 feet inside a mountain on Svalbard, 800 miles from the North Pole. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault stores 1.2 million seed samples. Every nation on Earth deposited here." A concrete wedge protrudes from the slope outside. No windows, no footprints at the door. Temperature inside, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Maintained not by machinery but by the permafrost surrounding the chamber on all sides. 10,760 square feet, roughly 1/4 of an NFL field. No permanent staff. Opened in 2008, it operates on geology. A narrow corridor leads inward. Frost coats the walls and ceiling. Strip lights cast cold white on gray surfaces. The temperature drops with each step deeper. If every electrical system failed at once, the frozen rock surrounding the chamber would keep the contents viable for decades. The location is remote enough to survive armed conflict. A worker in thermal gloves pulls a sealed crate down the corridor. Each crate contains vacuum-packed foil envelopes containing samples from different countries. The crates stack floor to ceiling on metal shelving, labeled by nation. North Korean deposits sit beside South Korean, Indian beside Pakistani. Both governments deposited independently. The intro opened above the water. This closes below the surface, inside a mountain, in the dark, where the cold does the work that no machine does more reliably. Same Arctic, different depth. 15 places, some empty for as far as the eye carries, some sheltering people who have built entire lives inside conditions most of the world will never feel. A hunter waiting on sea ice for 3 seconds. A herder reading snow the way a navigator reads stars. 6 people stepping outside at 2 in the morning, because the reading is due. The ice holds no opinion on any of it. It moves the way it has always moved, south, slowly, older than every name given to it. The people who live inside it, who measure it, who depend on it, who stay close to it, they are the reason 15 places became something worth following. The Arctic belongs to no one. It simply continues. Somewhere beneath the oldest ice, in air bubbles pressed down for over 100,000 years, the atmosphere of a vanished world remains perfectly intact, waiting for someone to ask the right question.